Can I ask you a question?
The job I had before was as a psychic.
Do the work and you'll go far.
What do you think happens when we die?
This is your second film with Clint Eastwood, following Invictus, of course. Are the two of you beginning to develop a shorthand from working together?
It's kind of always a shorthand with him. He doesn't chatter a lot. I think he gives the kind of direction that he appreciated when, you know, as an actor. So sometimes somebody can really get in your head if they talk kind of too much. So I think kind of by design, it's always a shorthand.
Is there any way we could just pretend that maybe we go back in time and just forget about the phone ringing and my brother's message and we never had this conversation?
Why?
Because if we open the door and go down that road, any chance that we had of having something normal will just be gone.
This movie has 3 different storylines, 3 people who are facing death in very distinctive and unusual ways. He's a medium who has the ability to communicate with the dead, and although some people would perceive that as a gift, he feels like that's a curse because it's prevented him from being able to have relationships, you know, at least meaningful relationships with anyone. And my character is someone who comes into his life. She also is really yearning to make a connection with someone. And when they meet, you know, of course, there's sort of like this burgeoning romance, and then things kind of surprisingly, I don't know, just things come out in a sort of surprising way from there.
So you think I really did experience something?
Oh, yes. I think you experienced death.
I'm sure that exploring the themes of the afterlife in the film prompted you to consider your own feelings on what happens after we die.
Before the film, before working on this film, before my preparation, I never thought about that, really, honestly, because for me, death is part of life. Of course, when I did my research and when I read a lot of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and Dr. Moody's book, I began to be, very curious and very passionate by this subject. And it's funny to see how the paranormal is not taken seriously because our Cartesian and rational thought closed the door to this mystery, and perhaps it's a pity.
So your character George has a degree of fame that he doesn't want, of course, in this film. And there's a moment in the movie where George meets the actor Derek Jacobi and can barely string a sentence together in his presence. And that made me laugh because I've got to imagine that this scenario happens to you to a certain degree daily.
Yes, I mean, though I was not thinking of that. I mean, I was actually thinking about Derek Jacobi when I met him in that scene, because he's a wonderful actor.
Yeah, he's a good one to get starstruck about.
Exactly.
One of the scenes is fairly romantically charged. There's blindfolds, there's tasting. I mean,
no.
What the?
Yeah, there's like a tasting scene where, which I found just really lovely because the person who's tasting the food is blindfolded, and so that's kind of the scene. They take turns doing that, in which most of the sort of intimate details of their life come out.
Ultimately, the message of Hereafter isn't so much about the riddle of the afterlife, but it seems to be about being open to the opportunities that life provides at the moment.
So much of it really is about just how we relate to each other here. You get this feeling that these 3 characters kind of need each other to be complete, you know, to be fulfilled, and you're just trying to figure out how they're going to get there.
If you're worried about being on your own, don't be. You're not.
Hereafter.